everybody, and welcome back to episode 13 of Four Guys Talking Sports, the podcast. My name is Luke Lagrano.
I'm Ryan Hicks.
I'm David Axella.
And I'm Lawrence Lagrano.
Yep,
that's 13 already.
Yep.
You guys know yesterday was Friday the 13th, too? What a coincidence.
Oh, that's a little trippy.
Imagine if we recorded yesterday.
That would have been weird.
Some freaky stuff's going to be happening at that.
All right, guys. I want to hurry it up. I want to get right into the news because I don't want anyone from Kraft Productions snooping on us today. So we're going to get right into the news. We're going to get this out of the way before anyone has the chance to spy on us. Sound good?
Oh,
I smell something coming.
Well, I brought it up, so we'll lead it off. We've got a couple things to talk today, but we would be remiss if we didn't start with the big news coming out of the OHIO. The Pats, again, are in hot water after a Bengals staff member noticed a videographer connected to the Patriots filming the Bengals sideline in Cleveland. The Patriots claimed the video being filmed was for a series independent of the Patriots organization on what it's like to work as an NFL scout. The videographer offered to delete the footage and forget the whole situation, but the league confiscated the footage, leaving the league and the Bengals with the only copies of the footage. Now, Ryan, as the Patriots fan here, with all of the past allegations, why shouldn't we believe the Patriots actually tried to cheat here?
One, why would you cheat on a team that has won one game? Two, the digital crew is completely different from the scouting and the football operation. So it wasn't like it was the scout filming the sideline. It was someone completely independent of the football operations filming for a completely separate project. If the scout was recording the sideline, that's not good. That is bad. But it was just a videographer independent of the team doing a project. It was the Bengals. I mean, like, it really, if we have to cheat against the Bengals, then this team has serious issues.
Are you sure he's not paid by the team? That guy that was recording?
The project wasn't with the team. Like, it was separate of football operations. So he is a New England Patriot employee, but there's
right,
football operation.
So he's paid by the Patriots still.
Yeah,
no, he's paid,
not involved.
He's paid by Robert Kraft to be a part of Kraft Productions. Everyone on YouTube can see me using the air quotes. Ryan, this has all the symptoms of Spygate. This is exactly what we saw just what feels like a decade ago. There you go, closing out the decade by making sure history repeats itself.
It was a decade ago, wasn't it, by now?
Yeah, something real close to it. Real close to it, if not complete. Yeah. So, I don't know, right? It looks fishy. It does not look good.
It's the Patriots. Everyone's always going to think it looks fishy. That comes with the name.
That's a very fair point.
It's actually 12 years ago now. We're really old.
No, but Ryan brings up a good point. If you were a Patriots cheating believer, this just confirmed everything you believed. And if you didn't believe the Patriots ever cheated before in their entire lives, this didn't change anything either. So I don't think we're ever going to find out what's on the tape. I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Well, if it's actually for a documentary, that documentary should be released within the next year or two, I'd imagine. So when that documentary does not get released, I'm sure there'll be some questions. Or if it comes out, then we'll all have to shut up. You know?
Also, I probably shouldn't be admitting to this, but as someone who's done some work behind the camera, I've used the line, I can just delete it and forget all about it before. Actually, yeah, you know what?
What were you recording?
When you're a college student and you're on public property, sometimes business owners don't really care about the law and they just want to threaten to call the police on you. And you're a college student. You don't really have time for that. But another good example, I went to go see a Broadway show and a woman took a picture of the stage and someone came down and made her delete it. And she deleted it. And then right after that woman walked back up, she went in her recently deleted and just got it back. So I think this guy could have tried to be slick. I'm sure this isn't the first time this has happened. So we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see what happens here coming down the line.
See some stuff on YouTube. Well, we're on YouTube with this actually, but like people doing stuff like that, like pranks where they, the cops are like, oh yeah, turn that off, and they're like, oh yeah, it's off, and it's obviously still recording. Like,
Yeah, we're gonna have to see here, but I hope Bill Belichick did not have to snoop in on the one-win Bengals. It would be a bad look, right? It'd be a very bad look.
The only reference you can look at in this, in the broader scheme of things, is that they've been doing this, for everyone. This is just the time they got caught.
Exactly.
But, I don't know. I think that's so small. Like the chance of that is so unlikely. But if this documentary doesn't come out, I'm going to have some questions. I know no one cares about my questions, but there's going to be some journalists out there, real journalists, that have some big questions.
All right. While we're on football, we have some weekly predictions to give. So let's take a look at the leaderboard. Let's see how everybody's doing. David extends his lead in first now with 41 points and a record of 23-13. Ryan keeps his place in second with 38 points and a record of 19-17. Lawrence stays in third with 37 points and a record of 17-19. And you guessed it, I am still in last. I still have 33 points. So, David, you know the drill. Start us off.
All right, so my 1 point pick is going to be the Green Bay Packers this week, laying 4. I don't have a ton of analysis on this one because I haven't really had the time to look at numbers this week. I kind of just picked off the cuff. But I think Green Bay's been hot lately, and 4 points is not a big spread for them. So I'm going to go with that. Lock it in. 1 point pick, Green Bay Packers.
Cool. Ryan, you're up.
I'm taking the big spread. I'm taking the Pats, who are -10 at Cincy. The Patriots have lost 2 in a row. If there's a game that's an offensive tune-up to where you need to start playing, I look at this game like, when D1 teams play those D2 teams at the beginning of the year, and it's like their tune-up before their schedule starts. I view this as like a mid-season tune-up for the Patriots. Get the high-flying offense going, put some points on the board, and get ready to play football in late December, January, and February.
Alabama always plays a double-A team at some point in, like, October,
tune-up game.
For that reason. Yeah, it's tune-up game, exactly.
There we go. Lawrence, you're up.
I like that pick a lot, and it was the pick that fell out of my rankings. My 1 point pick this week is going to be the Seattle Seahawks, laying 6.5 on the road in Carolina. I think it's a bounce-back game for them. Carolina is on the downward trend, and the coaching change didn't seem to help, which was an interesting case, but I think the Seahawks go in there on the road and try to get back in the conversation for the 1 seed. Laying less than a touchdown, I felt comfortable. So, book it.
All right, cool. So we've talked a little bit about how I need to start switching up my picks. I need to start taking a few risks. I need to start sticking my neck out there. And I'm going to do it for my 1 point pick. If I had taken this in week 5, I think I would have been called crazy. I don't think it sounds that crazy anymore. I'm taking the Dolphins plus 3.5 at the Giants. I think the Dolphins have kind of forfeited the Tank Bowl. I think they're finally trying to prove that Brian Flores has some sort of ability to be a coach. And I think the Giants are kind of just out of it and seeing if they can catch the Bengals and the Bengals get hot, which they probably can't, but who knows? So I think the Giants are going to embrace the tank, and I think the Dolphins are going to keep going. So I'm going to take the Dolphins getting points in MetLife. So, David, 2
Is Eli playing?
Yeah,
Eli is playing.
Deion Jones. That's scary, dude. Picking against Eli in his last home game ever. That's scary.
I totally agree. Do you like the Giants, but you just picked the Dolphins?
Say it again?
Did you like the Giants, but you just picked the Dolphins because you suck, or do you like the Dolphins?
I think it's a little
was that
both.
a switch scenario?
Right. That's my
question. Yeah, it was because like the brain said like, oh, Eli's going to come in hot, and then I realized what I was doing. So I put some logic behind it, and hopefully it'll work out for me. So Dave, give us your 2.
I'm going to be piggybacking on Lawrence on this one. Going with Seattle, laying the 6.5 in Carolina. Less than a touchdown, 1 score. Carolina's really, I think they've given up. Normally when a coach gets fired, it fires the team up. But as we've seen, it seems to have had a negative impact upon that football team. And Seattle is absolutely still competing for that division. If Seattle wins that division, man, that's a steal. The 49ers fans should be upset. That might convince the NFL to change their playoff format if something like that happens. Yeah. But so anyway, enough talking playoff format. Seattle laying 6.5 on the road. Lock it in, 2 points.
Cool. Ryan, let's hear it.
I'm hopping on the train. I'm taking Seattle. Less than a touchdown. I don't think the Panthers are that good. I think that Russell Wilson is still that good. It's all been said before, so take it.
Less work for me. Lawrence.
Luke, I need you to confirm the line on this one because it's been a couple days since I checked out Vegas consensus. Well, I believe it is the Bills laying 1.5 in Pittsburgh.
I had that line
I think that's what it is. Okay,
I had that line too.
I'll take it at 2. I'll take it's going to be less than a field goal. I'll take the Bills. This is, we've been saying it all year. They don't really get capped like they really should. Yeah, I mean, it makes no sense. So, I don't really buy into the Duck Hodges hype yet. I think the Bills can come into Pittsburgh and play this game on national television as really one of their first prove-it games of the year, and they come out on top. So I'm going to take the Bills, land whatever points Vegas consensus says that we will confirm, and put it up on this nice graphic for the show right here.
Actually, they're currently getting one.
The Bills are getting one.
The Bills are getting one at this moment, which means there's probably an injury you don't know about.
Well, listen, I hope you're wrong. And on right here, I'm just going to take the Bills, whatever they're getting, and we'll see what happens. So
speaking of picks that fell out, that was my pick that fell out of my top three.
Me too.
Yep. I was too afraid of the Duck Hodges hype, so I stayed away from it.
I'm so interested to see what your threes are.
They're getting one on DraftKings too, so this is a universal thing.
Interesting. All right, we'll confirm. I'm going to take Buffalo regardless because they shouldn't be underdogs. So
cool. All right, my two. I'm taking the Packers -4.5 against the Bears. I know this is a divisional matchup, but they're in Lambeau. This is a hungry Packers team. We've seen how bad the Bears can be, and I think they're going to slow down after that big Thanksgiving win. So give me A-Rod, or give me no points, I suppose. All right, David, big winner here. 3-point pick. Let me see what you got.
I like the Packers, though, before I get into it. But I said -4. So, yeah, it's 4.5. If that's the correct – I guess it doesn't matter because push is a loss anyway. But so, regardless, my 3-point pick is going to be the Oakland Raiders, laying 6.5, going into Jacksonville. I think the Jaguars have pretty much given up on the season. It seems like – I mean, I know Gardner Minshew is playing – actually, it's in Oakland, sorry. So they're at home, even better. On the West Coast, East Coast team going west. And they've pretty much given up on the season. Gardner Minshew, he's, a fiery kid, but he isn't exactly the most talented guy. So, laying one score, 6.5, covering by 7. I feel pretty good about that one. So, Oakland 3-point pick, lock it in.
All right, cool. Sounds good. Ryan, 3-point pick.
I am taking the Vikings at 1.5-point favorites going into Los Angeles. I am very confused as to why the Vikings are favored by less than a field goal. I thought the line was going to be 4 or 5, so I was very, very, very surprised that all I need is the Vikings to win by 2. I just think the Vikings are a way better football team. So I'm taking the Vikings at only 1.5-point favorites, and when they win by a touchdown, if not more, I'll be really happy because
Lawrence,
this 1.5 line is dumb.
It's because it's a road game, man.
Lawrence, before you say a word, should I put your graphic up now or now?
What graphic? Well,
picking the Vikings?
Yes. Yeah, I'm definitely picking the Vikings. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense.
Was this the line you were talking about?
Yes. It started at 3 and it went down. I couldn't get over it. I really couldn't get over it. You said it. You had everything I had to say, Ray.
All right, up to me. All right, so I'm taking an independent pick. I'm taking a game that no one's picked yet, and I got to tell you guys, this pick pains me. I really hate making this pick.
Good job. Your 3-pointer, Luke.
No, it pains me. It really does. Because as much as I want to boil her up, I'm taking the Tampa Bay Bucks -3.5 in Detroit. Ryan, I know normally you bring the stats. I brought one of my own this week. The David Blau Detroit-led offense in his first quarter put up 14 points, and in the 7 quarters since then has put up 13. So while famous Jameis might not be the guy you want to put all your faith in, the Detroit Lions just don't have it right now, guys. They just don't have it. So I'm going with Tampa. I'm going to hope that that Boiler Spirit gives me 3 points. And maybe I'll be fighting one day again in the coming weeks. All right, so those are the picks. We're going to transition sports here. We're going to move from the NFL to the MLB. And boys, let's move. Yeah, Ryan, you want to start? I can ask you this question. I was going to ask Lawrence, but I can ask you.
No.
Okay. So cool. So let me do.
We're not any happier about these news things either. One particular story, I should say.
David's totally. All right, so, boys, sure you know this, but for those who don't, some of the biggest names in the MLB free agency pool got paid this past week. The World Series MVP Steven Strasburg will be returning to D.C. on a 7-year, $245 million contract. his former teammate Anthony Rendon got the same deal from the Los Angeles Angels, and arguably the most anticipated signing of the offseason. Garrett Cole will be slapping on the pinstripes as he signed a 9-year, $324 million contract with the Yankees. Lawrence, which team got the best deal of these three, and which team is currently winning the offseason?
I mean, I hate this because I have to say the Yankees. Why did you ask this question? It's the Yankees.
It's always the Yankees.
It's always the Yankees because they can do it. That's the issue.
There's no team on earth that has the ability to outbid them.
Yeah. And then to back it all up, Cole comes out and says, "Oh yeah, I did it because I wanted the best shot at winning a World Series." It's like, yeah, all right, we get it. All right.
Real quick before, because I'm gonna differ my answer from you guys. Before I say that, I want to just tell you how annoyed I am at Yankee fans. Because I hate that. I saw Yankee fans on Twitter after Cole signed, like, oh, the Yankees are so smart. They brought in Andy Pettitte. They brought in this flashy new pitching coach. The guy got offered $324 million. Do you think that had nothing to do with the fact that just put Steven Strasburg's record deal to bed? I feel like that had something to do with it.
Yeah, there was a record-breaking pitcher deal, and then they just shattered it the next day.
Right. And the reason I'm going to differentiate the reason I'm going to differentiate my answer from you guys is not because I think the Yankees aren't going to be the best team in baseball. I think it's because I'm going to talk about a team that's going to make the biggest jump, and that's the LA Angels. The Yankees are going to go from teams in the ALCS to a World Series team, and the Angels are going to go from a team that I believe are going to go from being nowhere near the playoffs to actually making a playoff run. Mike Trout is still the best player in baseball. Shohei Ohtani is supposed to be healthy and supposed to be hitting and pitching like he normally does. And then you just added the best third baseman in baseball. So I think this is a team that could really make some noise this year. I really think the LA Angels have a shot to at least win a playoff game, maybe the wild card game. So I think we could see something cool out of the Angels this year.
Wait, Luke, you don't think Jeff McNeil's the best hitting third baseman in baseball?
No, David, because I think he's the best hitting outfielder in baseball.
He is on the depth chart as a third baseman in this current moment.
Is he? It's not second anymore?
No, it's Cano.
That's just because of how crowded your outfield is. They got
He goes from second baseman to left fielder to third baseman. He's going to be the bat boy soon. I can just feel it.
He is the ultimate utility man.
It's all right, though. Harper's having fun in Philly.
Where are the Angels getting all this money from? Like, they're paying Trout, they're paying Rendon, they're paying Ohtani. They have a big contract too that I'm not thinking of. But I know they're LA, but they really play in Anaheim. They're not Anaheim's not that big of a
Is Simmons their big other contract?
It might be.
I don't even know.
I feel like it's a pitcher, but I could just be very wrong. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where all this money's coming from. Maybe they have, some billionaire investment owner that we don't have yet.
I was gonna say, this is a message to Brody Van Wagenen. Spend money, it works.
No, it's a message to Steve Cohen. Write the check now.
All right, cool. So before we start talking any basketball, we have our friend Jay Dombek, who's agreed to call in and give us his take on what's going on in the NBA right now. So let's send it on over to Jay. And we're here with our friend Jay Dombek to talk a little bit of NBA. Jay, how are you today, sir?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Dude, I'm psyched to have you here. We're psyched to talk a little bit of basketball. Listen, let's just jump right into it. Jay, you're a big Lakers fan, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
Big Laker fan.
There we go. Okay, well, Jay, some great news for you. The Lakers share the top spot on the mountain of the NBA with the Bucks as both teams sit in first place in their conference with a record of 23-3. ESPN recently asked if either team has a chance to catch the Warriors' record of most wins in a regular season. Do you think either team has a chance to beat the Warriors' record?
I do. I think the LA Lakers have a great chance to do it. Especially if LeBron keeps playing 36 minutes a night. I mean, AD is playing like a superstar. It's really gelling in LA right away. A new team together, and it's right away we have people shooting, dishing. LeBron's playing defense like he's third year in the league. And it's really going well. I think Milwaukee will come up just shy of the record, though. I feel that the Lakers are kind of a whole nother level. Me as a Laker fan would love to see Lakers-Bucks finals. That would be just everyone would be excited for that. Giannis against LeBron. But I do have the Lakers not only tying the Warrior record, beating it, Luke. And I think it all starts at the defensive end there in Los Angeles. Great D leads to great O, and that's what we're seeing in the early winter here in the NBA.
David, you're shaking your head no. Do you think the Lakers don't have any chance?
I think there's no shot now. That Warriors team was the best NBA team ever assembled, and this team is not that they are the best team in the league at this moment, but they're not as good as that team was 3 years ago when they set that record. It's just LeBron and AD. They don't have that Warriors team had 4 guys you could argue are Hall of Famers. This team's only got 2. You know.
I think, David, though, Jay, I want to comment on what you had to say because it is a different game now. You know, I think basketball is kind of, someone looking from the outside in, basketball is a different game and it has its little shifts and periods. You know, we had the normal basketball when I was a kid, and then we shifted to the big threes. We had the Clippers with Jordan, Paul, and Griffin, and then the Celtics, and then we all know LeBron, Bosh, and Wade. And then we had super teams, which is where we had the Warriors, Big Four. Now we have duos. So I think to Jay's point, I think that we could see in this era of duos where 2 people, AD and LeBron, are both top 5 in the NBA in terms of talent. Jay, do you think that it's a no-brainer that we could actually see this record be broken?
I wouldn't say a no-brainer. I agree with what's said there in the booth. I 100% think that if the Lakers keep it up, and you know why I really think there's a chance, Luke?
Let's hear it.
They have not lost on the road yet.
That's big. That's real big.
Which is huge. And they have not lost on the road yet. And you know what's great? Their toughest game on the road was last night in Miami, and they were down at half. Resilient group, third quarter, fourth quarter, looked outstanding. I think they gelled as a team. And you know what's really interesting? It's not just LeBron and AD. Yeah, those are the 2 superstars on the team, but we are having outstanding minutes from Caldwell Pope, outstanding minutes from Rondo. We have guys off the bench like Caruso. I mean, of course, Kyle Kuzma making a difference. Guys that are distributors. They know some of them can't score at will, but they know that, and they know who to get the ball in the right hands of the player. LeBron or AD, if they have a mismatch, hit them. And the Lakers are a very unselfish group, man. I'm really liking what's going on there, and it all starts with undefeated on the road, I must say, Luke.
All right, Jay, we're going to take you from the best teams in the NBA to the worst. So some news we didn't get to cover on our last episode is the Knicks have sent David Fizdale out the door. They fired their head coach last weekend. Fizdale finished his tenure with one of the worst statistics in any of the last 20 years by a Knicks coach. Jay, do you think even though Fizdale didn't have the best stats, this was the best move for the Knicks to make?
It was the best move for the Knicks to make, I must say. It all starts with coaching, I feel. I know you have to have the right talent and, have a group that wants to compete every night at a high level. But I feel like Fizdale wasn't bringing that energy, especially to start this year. It was the right move. The Knicks, I will say, that's not a move that's going to fix them right away. Or, to be honest, fix them in the near future. I think it's going to be a minute. But firing Fizdale wasn't an impulse move. It was a decision that they've been thinking about, and they realized it was not working. And, hey, I'm excited for, the New York Knicks job. Surprisingly, even though they haven't been good, and they're not good right now, and they haven't been good in the near future, it's still a hot job to get, the head coach of the New York Knicks, so I'm excited who they bring in.
Yeah, Jay, actually, I think it's going to take a couple of minutes for the Knicks to get good, not just one. It's going to be more than 1 minute.
At least 2.
At least 2. Maybe 3 if we're pushing it. All right, Jay, one more question we got for you. There's been a lot of talk coming into the season about the Rookie of the Year race. Now, Zion has missed significant time, and there's rumors that he's not even going to play this season. And R.J. Barrett has fallen victim to playing for the Knicks. And as somebody who doesn't follow basketball too much, the only rookie I'm really hearing about anyone talk is Ja Morant, who's already missed some time due to injury. So I wanted your take. Is there anybody in the NBA who could potentially catch Ja Morant as this year's Rookie of the Year?
I will be perfectly honest with you. No one will catch Ja Morant. I say that because I've actually caught some Grizzly games this year. Me being an avid NBA fan, I'm trying to watch as many games as possible. Yeah. But Ja Morant, I'll tell you, Luke, skill at both ends of the floor, can handle, play defense, can take anyone to the rim, and I mean anyone, which is very exciting. I know we're all missing out with no Zion this year. But, hey, get healthy, Zion, and you got a bright future. But right now, I think Barrett isn't even – I mean, he's in the conversation, but he's not right there neck to neck with Ja Morant. And I think it all starts with efficiency at the offensive end. And we're seeing that with Morant more than anybody else.
All right. Jay, well, first of all, I want to say thank you again for coming on. We loved having you. But I've got one more question for you. We had our question of the week this week. It was given to us by Ryan here. Our question of the week was, what is your favorite sports memory ever? So, Jay, I wanted your take on that as we lead into the question of the week. What's your favorite sports memory ever?
Great question. I'm going to switch gears here. I'm going to go from basketball to football. And I'm going to go with the New York Giants beating the New England Patriots the first time around with Mr. David Tyree's helmet catch and an unbelievable victory by Big Blue Nation.
Hey, I couldn't have said it better myself, Jay. I could not have said it better myself. All right, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We loved having you.
Thanks, guys. Looking forward to hopefully coming back soon. Appreciate you guys having me, and you guys have a hell of a night. Thanks so much.
You too, Jay. We'll talk to you later, all right?
Thank you. How you doing?
Thanks, Jay.
Adios.
Bye. Thanks.
Well, that was Jay Dombek, and we got to hear his answer. So let's move on to our answers for question of the week. Ryan asked the lovely question, what's your favorite sports memory? Boys, we got a lot of great answers, and here's what guys had to say. So Connor McCann and Matt O'Hara both had the same answer, and that's Adam Henrique scores in overtime, and the Devils beat the Rangers to move on to the Stanley Cup in 2012. Yeah, throwing your hat.
I get it.
I get it. Paige McCann.
Wait.
That's my worst sports memory in life, I think. I get it.
What's up, Mark?
But, imagine having seen Stanley Cups in your lifetime and then just beating the Rangers is the best moment you remember in sports. All right, whatever. That's fine. Just saying. Keep it.
Listen, up there for me is Mariano blowing his last save in Citi Field. It's not my number one, but it's definitely there.
So Lawrence.
I get it.
Speaking of Stanley Cup, our next answer is from Paige McCann, who's Connor's mother. The Devils actually won the Stanley Cup on her wedding night, so that's her favorite sports memory.
That's cool.
Leah Lavin said her favorite sports memory was when Ryan Hicks went way too hard playing basketball as part of Ball So Hard.
Can we attach the video of my nasty layup I had? I crossed two people over, went up left-handed, dished it off the glass, burned some girl going for a high five, found the camera in the middle of the crowd, and started screaming into it. Dead eye contact. I'll put it in the group.
There.
I'll put it in the group.
You've been there before.
Video?
Yeah, I'll send it in the group. It was sick.
Perfect. All right. Mike Parr says the easy one. The Patriots come back 28-3 to beat the Falcons in the Super Bowl. A bit of a long story here. John Franklin said that when he was a kid, Scott Proctor blew him off for an autograph, and after seeing how sad he looked, Gary Sheffield came out of the dugout to sign his ball. And when the security guard tried to stop him, Sheffield told him, "You don't tell me who I get to sign autographs for." And then Sheffield signed his ball. So that's really cool.
That's sweet.
That's pretty cool.
Chris Dallariva said Linsanity takes over New York City. Dave DeVino said Game 7 of the 2016 NBA Finals, but more specifically, watching LeBron win a championship in Cleveland. Cam Doyle said Red Sox win the 2004 World Series. Aunt Phil, friend of the show, said either touching the hood of Cleon Jones's car at the players' entrance at Shea Stadium or watching the Mookie Buckner play at home and screaming at her TV. Tom Kamel Tom Cabell's favorite sports memory is the Las Vegas Police Department win the 2012 Homedale High School Dodgeball Tournament. That one's for you, Lawrence.
Represent.
Matt the Judge Schindler said the answer everybody expected, winning back-to-back intramural hockey championships as a member of Win or Lose Lee Booze.
Whoa!
Sean Raggio said that Derek Stepan scores in overtime in Game 7 to beat the Capitals and send the Rangers on to the Eastern Conference Finals. And Chris Miranda says that Marty St. Louis' Mother's Day goal is his favorite. And now for the answer that Ryan's been waiting for, Mr. Legrano's favorite sports memory.
Wait, can I tell the story? Can I interject here? Can I take over?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
All right, so I actually I was very interested. I went home this week, so I spoke to my father about the answer to the story, and I told him my.
Can I ask? Did he like the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like he enjoyed it.
Yeah, we had some good discussion around it.
That's great. That's
and I told him, that I jokingly guessed the Bernie Perron game where they were throwing the mask back in the garden, if you listen to last week's episode. And as soon as I mentioned the story, he literally just erupts into a, "Don't give it back, Chad. Don't give it." Started chanting. I was like, that's awesome. But he did mention that literally the three things that I very shortly said at the end of the story that I told. Because he said to me, he was like, what he was deciding between, he was like, now, I've been to a game in '69 when the Mets won the World Series. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, and I went to the '86 one too. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, and I think the '86 one's a little better than the '69 one. And I was like, really? And he was like, but it has to be the Eddie game. And I was like, wow, okay, interesting. So the little backstory, Ryan, have you heard the story about the Eddie game?
I don't think so.
David, have you heard the story about the Eddie? Yeah, I'm sure you have. So my dad was with his ex-wife at the time, and Eddie Jockman was the name of the Rangers goalie. His numbers in the rafters. That was his idol. Favorite player of all time to this day is Eddie Jockman, right? So he had season tickets to the Rangers.
Oh, I have heard the story.
They traded Eddie away, and he said he was never going to go again. So
I knew this. Yes.
He goes out to dinner with his ex-wife, and he gets unsettled because the next game the Rangers play after they trade Eddie Jockman, they play the Detroit Red Wings, who he was traded to. So Eddie's playing his next game in the Garden. He was unsettled, said, screw it, we got to get out of here and go to the Garden. He scalped tickets. He went to his old section with his season tickets and his sister, sat on the stairs, and everyone was cheering for the Red Wings that game and not the Rangers. And he said that was his favorite sports memory. So
that's pretty
amazing. If you know my dad, that's a big one for him.
It's a big deal. It's a real big deal.
That was, remember when I was mentioning on last week's episode about that night we were on vacation and he was telling story after story? That was one of the stories that was included in that rant. That was one of them.
And he did say that he, which I'm sure this was included in that story too, he did say that he regretted giving his sister the tickets to the Game 7 game of the '94 Cup for the Rangers. Because he didn't go to that.
That's another fantastic story.
People offered him free tickets to Game 7 of the '94 Cup, and he turned them down.
I believe
he still had a grudge.
And people were betting on whether or not he would accept the tickets or not.
Yep.
Yeah, that's amazing.
He walked in and said no, and people started cheering because the entire office had money on whether or not he would actually say no to the game.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's how spiteful a Legrano can get.
That story doesn't encapsulate what the floor of the stock market is like, then I don't know what else does.
All right, Ryan, this is your question. Do you want to kick it off?
Sure. So I have two answers, just because it's my question and I said so. So my honorable mention is I was at the Sox game after the bombing. So that was the Ortiz, this is our fucking city game. I was deep in the outfield. It was the coolest game I've ever been a part of. We were there for the entire opening ceremony. Being in Boston that day was insane. It was just a very surreal feeling. But that is one game where I didn't really understand the gravity of it and because so much was happening, all the speeches. Now when we heard Ortiz's speech, the place was silent. So that's my honorable mention. But my favorite memory is the when the Bruins won the Stanley Cup in 2011. And the reason is because we didn't go out anywhere, and we could have. My dad and I were the only two. We sat up in our living room. We watched the game, the two of us just together. And I remember the two of us not really saying a word for the entire third period. And when they finally did it, we jumped up and gave each other a big hug. So that is my favorite memory, just because the both of us easily could have gone anywhere else, but we sat in our living room and watched the entire game, and it was awesome. And it was the first championship I really remember being like, oh, I can't believe I just saw this.
That's awesome. All right, Lawrence, you want to go?
Yeah, it was a tough one for me. I landed on the 2006 NLCS Game 6 game, Mets-Cardinals, that I went to. John Main started. We tied up the series 3-3, forced Game 7. I went with my pops, and it was, just the absolute best atmosphere that I can remember at a sports event, being a kid. And it kind of topped any Mets memory I've ever had in my entire life. And they were pretty important to me growing up. So that's what I landed on. There was a Marty San Luis goal that I considered, but it wasn't the Mother's Day goal because, Luke, you'll remember we were listening to that goal on the radio. Yep. So we didn't really grasp. I still remember where I was, but we didn't really grasp the full, part of it. But the game 4 overtime goal in that Eastern Conference Finals was, just one of the coolest things of all time.
Yep.
But I landed on 06. John Main, love John Main, big John Main.
Love John Main. David, if it's okay with you, I'm going to step in here first because I want to apologize to Lawrence because I called him a coward the other episode for saying that he used to give more than one answer for the question of the week, and I'm about to give an honorable mention, so I want to apologize for that. If Ryan can do it, I can do it. So I want to say with how blessed I've been with some of the sports moments I've seen in person, especially with you guys. We saw Odell's catch, like we said last week. We saw Jacob deGrom's first MLB game. We saw Ray Lewis play his last game in Baltimore.
Yep.
And this isn't really sports, but I got to see what would be The Undertaker's last win in his WrestleMania streak, and what would also end up being CM Punk's last WrestleMania match. But I'm going to give an honorable mention in my answer because the answer wouldn't have happened without the honorable mention. So the honorable mention is Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals in 2012. And the reason we lost that game, but that was the game I decided I wanted to be a Ranger fan because I'm not sure if you guys remember that game, but that was one of the best atmospheres I can remember in sports.
Yeah. And also, Scorpion save, dude. That was that game.
And also, Ryan, fun fact, the Rangers, I'm pretty sure, went down in that game. And then we bought a bag of popcorn or a bag of peanuts or something, and we scored. So we're like, Uncle David, we need more peanuts. So we were going ballistic.
It was peanuts.
Yeah, it was.
So it was just the craziest thing, but that was the game I stopped being a Canucks fan, and I started wanting to be a Ranger fan. And my answer...
I have the rally towel of that game hanging right on my wall next to my computer.
In my room upstairs, actually, too.
Yep.
And my actual answer is Chris Miranda already said it. I know we were in the radio. We listened to it on the radio lines, but it's the Marty San Luis Mother's Day goal. Because if that's not what sports is all about, I don't know what is. He ended up giving one of the coolest post-game speeches I've ever seen in my entire life. That still gets me choked up to this day. But if that isn't what resiliency and what being on a team is all about and just the cool moments you get to see. I thought about saying Wilmer Flores crying in the infield because that was also the same amount of passion.
That was crazy.
But that's just, it sums up for me what it's like to be just so encapsulated by sports that you feel like you're there. So that's my answer. David, take us home.
So I want to preface this a little bit by saying I'm sure you would think it's a Mets moment going into this, but it's not. So I said last week the Andy Chavez catch was number 2.
Is it the Colts?
No, it's not the Colts either. Actually,
wow.
It's probably really not a team that you would think of. I think I got a shocker here.
It's not the Americans in the Olympics either, huh?
But no, that's the one actually.
Yes, see, it's you. Of course, I would guess that.
So yeah, it's a hockey goal, and it's when Zach Parise scored with 24 seconds left against Canada in the gold medal game to tie it and bring it to overtime, which we did end up losing. Yep. But I think that. Seeing that puck go in the net was just the most excited I have been in my entire life. And I was 14, so I wasn't even in high school yet. I was still a kid. And that was just it was like a dream come true. And I really thought we were going to win, but we didn't. And I have a Zach Parise USA Hockey t-shirt.
I was going to bring that up because I remember yelling at you for buying that. And you were like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah, because he was devil, and they're like, we're Rangers fans. And I was like, yeah, but America, so I don't really care. But so I think it would have been, though, the Mets winning the pennant in 2015, but I actually didn't watch that game because we were up 3-0 and I knew the series was over because,
Right.
Ryan, you know very well there was a 3-0 comeback in baseball, but that's the only time ever, and I don't think it's ever going to happen again. So I was like, I don't even need to watch Game 4. And that was the night the clubhouse opened, too.
Really?
So I was at clubhouse's opening instead of watching the Mets win the pennant. Because I was like, you know what? They'll probably just go to Game 5 and win anyway. Or, if they win in New York, I'd rather see that. And, if they don't win the World Series, I won't care anyway. And they didn't.
I've got a funny story about that game after the pod's over, Dave, I want to tell you. But I want to move on to Lawrence. What are we moving on to?
Mailbag!
Oh, that was quick.
Nice one. All right, cool. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Mailbag. All right, we only got a couple questions, so let's get right through them here. So Tom Kamel asked, is fantasy good for sports? You're more interested in general, but specific teams are losing interest from fans.
I don't know if the second part's actually true, but if it is, I think it's still outweighed by the fact that so many more people care about every NFL team now. It's brought in so many new people, so many new fans, so many kids that care. So, I mean, it's unfortunate for the players because they get treated like assets, but they do in real life anyway. So,
I think only for the NFL. The NFL would not be where it is right now if it were not for fantasy football. I mean, we're NFL fans just, because we do this for fun and stuff like that. But the average sports fan wouldn't watch an NFL game if they didn't have a fantasy implication. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
I picked out my games based on who I have going.
See?
There you go. All right,
see?
so
Definitely.
Brett Ostetek has two questions. So his first one is, are the Sox in a full rebuild yet, Ryan?
No. Unless something crazy happens in the winter meetings and they trade everyone, no.
I'm pretty sure Brett's a Yankee fan, so that's why this question was.
He's just poking.
And speaking of directed questions, Brett's second question is, what was more impressive, Jordan's flu game or Le'Veon Bell's flu game? Also, yeah, so I think I told Lawrence Dave this. I'm not sure if I told you this, Ryan. So just to kind of put in perspective how different markets handle this kind of news about Le'Veon Bell going bowling at 1 in the morning on a Saturday. On First Take, Stephen A. Smith was so distraught about how Le'Veon Bell is trying to be a leader on this team and how he's out bowling at 1 in the morning and how this is just an awful look for himself and the Jets. And then you watch the Michael Kay show, and Michael Kay is only concerned about the fact that there's no way Le'Veon Bell could have bowled at 251 with the flu.
It is pretty impressive.
I'm so sick of it.
About the score, did you take a pick? Picture didn't happen.
I have no idea. Also,
You know who's a nasty bowler? Mookie Betts rolls like 300s. Fun fact. He's like an amateur bowler. Yeah, or professional bowler. Something like that.
He's been in the PBA celebrity tournaments and stuff.
Yeah, he's sick.
Hey, maybe he'll be bowling in Queens next year, huh?
All right. This is kind of on me. I was supposed to tell you guys about this question earlier because it takes a little bit of thought for this one. So that's on. Pat Pitts wants to know, who do you think the most unlikely playoff hero is? And unless you guys have an answer right off the bat, I'll start while you guys take a second to think.
You mean like all time or in the future?
Or like
all time.
Oh. So I couldn't think of any like old people who were like unlikely playoff heroes. And my initial gut reaction was Dan Murphy. Because there's no way that guy should have played to the quality of playoff performance he played as. But I'm actually going to give my answer from someone who plays hockey, because just the sheer ability of his play in the regular season compared to the postseason, my answer is Nick Bonino. Because every year in the playoffs, that guy just takes off. And he was part of one of the most famous postseason lines, the HBK line, in the past decade. And he's just a really, really okay second-line center in the regular season. But the guy's literally always good for points in the postseason. So Nick Bonino's my answer. Off the top, I know he's not going to want to hear this, but Aaron Boone. That's a big home run. David Tyree, that's recency bias from hearing from our friend Jay. But those were the two that came to my mind right away. Tough question, though.
Yeah.
So
Justin
I don't
Williams.
actually know the numbers behind this one. What was that right?
Justin Williams, Mr. Game 7 was the first one that came to my mind.
But he's Mr. Game 7. He's not an unlikely playoff hero.
Yeah.
Aaron Boone is a bench player, and he is one of the biggest home runs in history. I mean, not in history, maybe the past 20 years. You just said an unlikely playoff hero's name was Mr. Game 7.
Yeah.
Like saying Reggie Jackson, Mr. October. It's like, that's not that unlikely.
All right, that's what you're saying.
So I feel like there's totally a baseball player I'm not thinking of or forgetting about, but I mean, how much of a playoff hero could they have been then if I can't remember them off the top of my head? But so the first name that actually came to my mind, and I don't know the numbers behind this to back it up, and I know that they didn't go that far in the playoffs, but they definitely won a series, is Jeremy Lin. Because he came in that year, the Knicks won, I think, one playoff series.
Did we?
Yeah, because they beat Boston.
Yep.
That was the only time I think I've ever seen the Knicks win the playoff series. So, but yeah, like Jeremy Lin just came in like mid-March and just lit up the league, and then went into the playoffs and carried the Knicks to their first playoff series win probably since the '90s and the last, I think, playoff appearance they've had. So,
all correct.
So he was definitely a hero in this city. I mean, I'm sure you guys remember the media swarming around the Linsanity in New York.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt. All right. Connor McCann wants to know, will the Giants fire Shermer or Gettleman, and how long will it take?
Very possible, and you hope it's before the draft. They learn from their cousins that they share the stadium with, and they do it before they absolutely blow draft picks and spend all their money on players coaches don't want. And do you want me to keep trashing the Jets in this question, or am I just going to shut up?
I think that honestly, there's no way either of them get fired, and I wouldn't fire either of them if I was their owner either. I would give them at least another year. Gettleman literally just drafted his quarterback.
Yep. And
he took the running back Saquon's not having a great year, but he is still probably the most talented running back in the NFL. He's really beat up, and it shows, and he missed like 4 games. He really shouldn't even be playing anymore. He should absolutely be shut down. But that's the kind of guy that he is, that he doesn't want to get shut down. And Shermer, this is now his second year, or is it his first year? I think it's his second year, right?
I think it. Yes. I too am unsure about that.
So I mean, I have the philosophy that you got to give a head coach at least 3 seasons before you can fire him. But I mean, maybe that's just an old school conservative football mindset. But I think generally head coaches need at least 2 seasons under their belt to even instill a system and instill a culture on a football team. Because a football locker room is not like any other kind of locker room. It's like the military, honestly. It's the closest thing to the military if it's not the military. And you need to be a general of men that are all capable of kicking your ass at any time, but they don't because they respect you. And you need to command that respect at every moment of the day. And it's not something that you just walk in and get. You know what I mean? It takes time.
No, very fair. Very fair points. All right. The boys from the 4th and Goal podcast want to know what play we would run on 4th and Goal if it were up to us.
Is it 4th and Goal from the 1? Wait,
sure.
What yard line am I on? If it's the 1, why
4th and Goal from the 1. I'm running
call it the 1.
QB sneak with Tom Brady.
I don't know that I would sneak it with Brady at this age, though. Normally, I would QB sneak it, but like if it's like an older quarterback, I'm not going to QB sneak it.
He's the best QB sneaker of all time.
Yeah, but he's that was when he was in his 20s and early 30s, right? He's 40 something.
I don't care. If it's one play to win the Super Bowl, I'm QB sneaking it.
I would totally QB sneak with Brady in 2012.
I'll throw you for a loop here. I'll go John Kuhn fullback dive.
I love it. I love it. And listen, if I learned anything from the Patriots, I'm not throwing the ball. I'm giving it to the running back. They can do it, just like their job description says so.
Yeah, I'm definitely not play actioning the quick slant where the linebacker is literally standing there when you have the best power runner in the NFL standing in your backfield, scratching his cup.
Hey, thanks for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, I mean, but yeah, realistically, QB sneak depending on the scenario. If not, it's a run. I don't know why you wouldn't run it unless you have
the Jets O-line. All right. So that does it for the mailbag questions, and thank you to the boys from 4th and Goal. Be sure to check out their podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you get your podcasts. And now, the final portion of the show, the judges' trivia question of the week. Boys, this one's tough. This one threw me for a doozy. But that doesn't take.
He's looking at Parvez now just to beat us.
Yeah. he kicked our butt last week bad, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
It was a tough one. And boys, we're back with another hockey question, so throw your thinking buckets on, I suppose. All right, here we go. Teemu Selanne holds the rookie goal scoring record with 76 goals in the 92-93 season. Who are the 3 next players on that list below him? Now I have
76 goals.
That's the number Judge gave me.
Jesus, I believe it because hockey was different back then. But my God, for a rookie.
Yep. So I have 3 hints. Whenever you boys want them, you let me know.
You want number 2 and 3?
What?
What was the question?
I said I have 3 hints. I said I have 3 hints for you.
No, but what's the actual question? So I got lost to the 76 goals.
David's mind just went blank, and he was deer in the headlights. Who are the next 3 players below Teemu Selanne on that list?
Oh, so 2, 3, and 4. Okay.
Gretzky.
Nope.
Wait, it's
They're
before or after Selanne, right? It's before or after him?
I believe so, yeah.
It's at this current moment.
Actually, that's one of the, I'll give you one of the hints. I'll give you the decades of the 3 players. One is from the late 70s, one is from the mid-2000s, and the one is from the late 80s.
Okay, so Crosby's the one from the mid-2000s.
But there's no shot that I get the 70s and 80s ones, so I'm just going to shoot for the 2000s one. Is it Ovechkin?
It is Ovechkin.
He's the best goal scorer ever, so, I mean, like, you kind of had to. No, I mean, I don't think I could name any player that played hockey in the 70s or 80s.
Pavel Bure.
That wasn't a range.
No, he wasn't.
No. I will say this. I'll give you guys the other 2 hints because I'm confident you guys can get one of them if you think hard enough, but I don't think you'll get the third one. So the other 2 hints are all 3 won a Calder, and all 3 also went on to win at least one Stanley Cup later in their careers.
Do any of them still work in hockey?
I'd need to Google that to double check. My gut says
the answer's probably no.
Yeah, my gut says. Yeah, I'm gonna check them. I'll check them both. But
was Keith Tkachuk one of them?
Keith Tkachuk is not one of them.
Luke Robitaille.
Nope. And what do you know? My phone's not loading, so I guess we're going to Wikipedia on the laptop. Let's see. All right.
I'm throwing my towel in here because I got no shot.
Phil
Esposito is not one of them. One of them is does not look like they're still in the hockey, as I should say.
They're not still in the hockey.
Okay. Luke, we're stumped.
No, there's no way I would have gotten out of those.
I'm not even going to bother looking up this guy.
I can't even say number 4's name.
All right. Yeah, I'm good to give the answers, guys.
Yes.
So you got Ovechkin, you missed Mike Bossy, and you missed Joe Nieuwendyk. And yes, I had no idea who that is. I had to Google him too.
That is how you pronounce that?
I think so.
Nieuwendyk.
I didn't do my.
You got made fun of in high school.
Yeah, from what I know of Kirk Nieuwenhuis, that's how I imagine pronouncing Joe Nieuwendyk.
Yeah, no, I'd imagine.
All right, well, another point for the judge and another great episode, boys. Loved having you here.
It was great to be here. Do we do a question of the week for next week?
Oh, yeah, that's on David. David, you owe us a question of the week. What do you got for us?
All right, cool. So I didn't realize that, so I'm going to go straight off the cuff, and my question is going to be, what was the first professional sporting event you've ever been to?
Ooh. Cool. All right, I'm gonna have to ask.
Take some thinking because I actually can't think of it off the top of my head right
now.
All right. Well, there you go. So we want to know what's the first sporting event you've ever been to, and you guys will get to hear your
college could count too if you went to a college game.
All right.
But like high school doesn't count. Yeah. High school sports don't count.
Yeah, my first ever T-ball game don't count, David.
Nah, sorry, dude.
Nah. So your first professional, college or professional, we'll say.
First, like, big time sport, like real sporting event, like
gotcha. Not a high school game.
Yeah.
College enough.
Gotcha. We gotcha. All right. Well, you guys will get to hear your answers on episode 14, and be sure to give this episode 13, giving us a like on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. Be sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so you don't miss episode 14. Well, for all of us here at Four Guys Talking Sports, we've loved having you. My name is Luke Lograno.
I'm Ryan Hicks.
I'm David Axel.
And I'm Lawrence Lograno.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in, giving us a watch or a listen. We loved having you. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Woo!
Spay and neuter your pets.
Spain.